cemetery, and it was over this that the ravens swooped. It was a very large cemetery,